Folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for watching. Whew! It's a hot one today. Outside, getting some good old Ozark detoxing going on. That's right. It's called gardening when it's 85 degrees and an 80% humidity. It is sultry, folks. Sultry. This is when it starts getting to, and it's a little early right now. Weather's been bing, 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 bing all over the place. But this is the part that so many people complain about the Ozarks. And I mean, yeah, it does. It gets hot and it gets sticky and everything, but not quite as bad as down in the deep south. Now, down there, it's living in a sauna for about 3 months out of the year. But it's really good for you. You get out, and even though it's miserable and it wears you down, I don't know, there's something about being outside and working in the hot heat and sweating everywhere, to me, that just, there's a good feeling to that. Without going deep down that rabbit trail, I think that's a big problem with Americans today. We live in such a controlled climate all the time. You know, we have climate-controlled homes and cars and businesses, and while there are some of you that work outside, so many Americans don't. And I think it's really healthy for us to get out and get a lot of sweating going on, because it is a detoxing thing. It, you know, kind of cleans your system a little bit. But anyways, I just thought I would mention that. I've ducked in here under the canopy to kind of get some shade on me while I make the video. A lot of things going on, and we're going to talk about some infrastructure. We're going to talk about the potential for grid down, because some type of attack on the infrastructure is growing more and more likely, because we've already had some. I want to mention, I had said in a couple of days ago that our next meeting here, you know, we have local meetings here, was going to be June 11th, and I was incorrect in saying that, because that's only in a day or two. It's July 11th, so please don't show up June 11th to the meeting place, because well, I won't be there, and I don't think anyone will be. But July 11th is the meeting, and if you have any questions or you want directions, you can go ahead and shoot me an email. It'll pop up down below here. And we have excellent meetings. If you've been watching some of my videos on the meetings we do, we're learning. We have classes. I think we're probably going to have a class on first aid kits, and we'll see what else. But most of all, most importantly, is we're really building kind of relationships with each other, and that's the big thing. You know, we average between 50 and 100 people at our meetings, and bring the whole family. Little kids, older kids, teenagers, because there's a bunch of them there. And they have something to do all day with playing and food and sitting and talking and relaxing and learning. Well, that being aside, I want to mention one other thing. I have a message board forum. It's an old style forum, and I have been neglecting it. I haven't been on there very much, and I'm sorry for that, but there's been a lot of other people on it. And I will also put a link in the description. Well, there's always a link in the description, but I'll put it up towards the top so you can see it. And it is not affiliated with, you know, any big social media platform. It's just a private message forum, old style. And there's a lot of people on there, and they're talking, and so it's a good place to also go and communicate with others. So if you're into that, you can go ahead and join that. It's free to join, of course. So in the last few weeks, we've had the pipeline. You all know about that. We had the pipeline get hacked and shut down, and you could even go further back. It wasn't here in the United States, but we had the ship, the cargo ship, and the canal that got stuck. That was an infrastructure thing, and a lot of people believe it wasn't just a coincidence or an accident. We've had all this shipping and supply chain problems, and then we have the Colonial Pipeline down in the southeast that got hacked and shut down for a week or so. And then we've had JBS, the largest meat processing company in the world, processes almost around a fourth of all the meat here in the United States, and Brazil and Australia and a few other countries, they were hacked and shut down. All the processing plants were shut down. The story is that it's some hacking group in Russia, and maybe there is a hacking group in Russia, but I tend to believe that there's a little bit more to that, because it fits perfectly with a lot of the plans that they're working on. Plans like the Great Reset, the zero carbon emissions of getting countries to stop using certain things and stop consuming certain products. It also really helps bolster the president's plan of infrastructure. Even though you all know that his $4 trillion plan on infrastructure actually only covers, only a little bit of it's actually going to be spent on infrastructure. But that doesn't matter. Details and facts don't matter. We know that. Goodness, what are you thinking? I mean, it's the 2021. Details and facts don't matter. Anyways, I think this is pretty serious, and I think we're probably, I don't make predictions, but I would say that over the next few months, we will probably see at least one, maybe a couple of more, pretty significant attacks on infrastructure of some sort. And the problem is, well, there's a lot of problems. One of the biggest problems is that everything is computerized. This oil pipeline down in the southeast, that pipeline's old. It's been around for like 70 years. It was built back before there were computers controlling things. It was all manual control, maybe pneumatic or something like that, but it really wasn't controlled by computers 70 years ago. I mean, I guess there were computers, but not this kind of stuff. And they have upgraded, obviously, to the point that most of the pipeline can be run by some IT guys sitting in a nice air-conditioned building filled with computer screens and panels and buttons and all that kind of stuff. And there needs to be very little actual manual maintenance and manually controlling of this pipeline. And so what happens is someone that knows what they're doing can go in and hack the system and shut it down. And, well, you don't have to go in and blow up things or have multiple people, going through and shutting down physically, manually things. You just need one or two or however many people, all the way on the other side of the planet to hack into a system and shut it down. Most of the country now is like this. Most of our electric grid is run this way. Gas, power plants, pipelines, virtually everything, water treatment plants, I could go on and on and on. Even railroads now, while there obviously are still people, physical people, controlling things, so much of it is all done by computer. And more on top of that, a lot of it's also being done by some type of artificial intelligence where the computer is just automated. Everything that's being done is automated, and they might have even fewer people monitoring the computer systems than they would have just a few years ago. And of course, it helps the company make money because they don't need to have these old union guys with their, their pensions that they're having to put into and the pay that they're having to pay them because they've maxed out on their pay. They can hire some young whippersnappers right out of college and pay them enough to cover their Starbucks and their, little electric cars, and they're good. I've seen it said that they can probably pay two of these young college grads for what they would have to pay one of the older guys that are masters of their art, and they the pensions and the retirements that they were paying for these older generation employees. The problem is that when they shut things down, they don't have people that know how to actually run stuff. They have people that know how to type on a computer, but they don't have people that know how to actually go out there and physically, manually fix things, manually override, manually run things. because everything's automated, and it's such a brilliant, genius move to assume that we would never, ever, ever need anyone to manually operate these systems. We just let computers do it. And so this colonial pipeline thing, and I'm talking a lot about this because I think it's very relevant, and I think it shows what could happen in the future. So they shut it down, and because they hacked the system, and all that would had to have been done is to go throughout the pipeline, because what they did is they shut the baffle valves down. They locked those down because they're all computer controlled, and if someone knew what they were doing, they could go through and open those up, and the pipeline would have worked fine, and there would have been no shortages, and they could have thumbed their nose at the hackers until they finally were able to decrypt things or just completely rebuild a whole new system, and would have run manually until then. Apparently they did that in a few junction points, but they weren't able to do it for the entire pipeline. And the reason is because they don't have any employees that know how to do that. They don't know how to all these computer geeks. Sorry if you're an IT person. I don't mean to. Anyways, they don't know how to go out there and turn a wrench because that's not their job. And all the people that actually do know how to manually operate this system, they're either retired or dead. I want you to listen to a little back and forth in the in the Senate. This is Senator Josh Hawley, which is here in Missouri, and he is asking the CEO of Colonial Pipeline this. He's like, hey, don't you guys have people that isn't it capable of being run manually? I mean, why didn't you just run it manually? And so here's the response from the CEO, basically saying what I just said.
70 years old, right? Roughly. There was a time, I assume, you correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a time, I assume, where you operated the pipeline without today's computer systems. What I'm driving towards here is, do you have the capability to manually operate the pipeline in the future, in the event of an IT attack like this one? And if you don't have that capability, should you, do you think, going forward?
Senator, that's a great question. We actually did operate small portions of the pipeline manually in order to alleviate some of the fuel shortage. And the discussion took place with the operations team about the ability to do that system-wide. And the response to that was it would be quicker to get back up on our feet by correcting the corruption of the critical IT systems that we needed in order to get the pipeline system up than to operate it manually. But I think on a go-forward basis, there's no question that we will look at that capability. And it's a really interesting question because if you look at the aging workforce now, a lot of those people that did operate Colonial Pipeline and other infrastructure in America historically manually, they're retiring or they're gone. Fortunately, we still have that last bit of that generation, which allowed us to do what we did during this particular event. It's a great question.
Right. And you notice, did you hear what the CEO said there at the end? He said, not just the Colonial Pipeline, but virtually all of America's infrastructure has this problem. All of America's infrastructure. Now, another thing to remember with this pipeline, according to the government, I know that some of you don't believe it because you've commented saying that you think it's fake news. I don't know. That the FBI says that they have seized the money, the bitcoins, or most of the bitcoins that were paid in ransom to the hackers to get this pipeline open. Now, if that's true, and here we are telling everyone, well, we have no way to manually override when they hack us. Why wouldn't this hacking group say, well, I'm going to retaliate against you. You took our money. You think that one was bad. The next one's going to be worse. So that's why I think that they're probably going to attack us again. And as I said the other day in a video, our grid is very, very fragile. And it would not take, there's only just a few junction points on our grid that if you take them out, it will cause a cascading effect of the grid. And the majority, not all, but the majority of the grid would just completely shut down. It's the same way with power plants. If you know what you're doing, especially with hacking, it would not take very much to shut them down. You can overload systems. cause, you know, things to overload and back up and shut down. I think this is a very real threat. Just a couple of years ago, DHS and I believe it was the House of Representatives issued a report warning that this was a problem, that our infrastructure has a lot of kinks in it. And we need to fix it. We need to upgrade our infrastructure. And so that's why with this bill or this plan that Biden is proposing, you know, a lot of the conservatives are saying, well, we do need to work on our infrastructure. There needs to be some things fixed. But his $4 trillion plan, where we're going to call everything progressive infrastructure so that we can give lots of money to all these progressive entities, that's different. The point is, with this video though, folks, there's a really good chance that this could happen. Even if it was just a short time, you know, so far these attacks have not lasted too long. But let's say they shut down the grid for the eastern seaboard, or the entire eastern United States, or the western United States, you know, pretty much everything west of the Mississippi. Even if it only was shut down for, let's say, a couple of weeks, that's significant. Most places that have generator backup, businesses and stuff, they can't last that long. Most generator backups only last for about 3 days. There's only about enough fuel in most of them, you know, like say hospitals and grocery stores and places like that have a generator backup. Most of them don't have much more fuel than 3 or 4 days. So if it lasted a week or two, you're talking, we're having some medical problems. People that are highly dependent, their life is dependent upon technology. Some machine that runs on electricity could potentially be dying. A lot of food that is temperature sensitive, it's going to go to waste. It's going to be lost. And so there's a great loss there. If it happened during the summer, it's hot, and already in the summer, virtually everywhere that it's hot in the summer, you always have people that perish due to the heat. How many more would that happen if it was, you know, no one had electricity to cool themselves, or even to turn a fan on? There were many people that died in Texas during that ice and snowstorm this past winter back in February because they were unprepared for it. How many wouldn't make it in Texas if there was no electricity? There wouldn't be water for a lot of places, because eventually, if it was a week or two, you know, pumps are going to lose pressure, stop working, lines lose pressure, and so you're not going to have water. Sewage systems are going to start backing up. Fuel's going to dry up because you need electricity to run the pumps. Food, just the transportation. We're talking epically huge, folks. This is a big deal. I mean, already the things that's happened, we saw how quickly it affected gas stations. Whether it actually affected them or if it was people just panicking and going out and stocking up, it doesn't really matter. The fact is it affected people. It affected the fueling stations. Meat prices going up because of the you know, hack of the processing plants. This is serious. And so this is why, you know, back when the government issued that report a couple of years ago or so, they were saying then, folks, you need to stock up. You need to have, I think they were saying back then, like 3 months, a couple of months or something like that. It needs to be more than that. 6 months minimum is what I would work towards, of food and supplies, and have, you know, alternatives planned out. The problem is if the grid, or at least a large portion of the grid, went down, it would be a snowball effect. And even if they think they could get it back up in a couple of weeks, we don't know what is going to be left of society in just a couple of weeks to turn back on. Things could unravel very rapidly with multiple different problems being had. So I'm not saying that they are going to hit the electric grid, but the odds of another attack somewhere within our infrastructure is, I think, highly likely right now. I think we're you know, sitting in a spot that it's very likely that's going to happen in the next few months. So we need to be prepared, folks. You need to be stocking up. working on your preparedness plan of what to do with the heat, what to do with your water, what to do with disposing of waste, food, medicine. You know, if someone in your household is dependent upon the electricity, you know, how you're going to work around that, and what you're going to stock up on to provide the adequate medical services for those in your family. I think it's a very, very real threat, and I would strongly encourage you folks to start getting prepared for it if you haven't already. All right, folks, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.